Yes, the first thing we'll do, we'll have Ms. Davis do attendance for us, please.
Chairman Green,
Here.
Mr. Taylor,
Here.
Mrs. Sanders,
Here.
Mrs. Walker,
Here.
and Mrs. Pender.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, and then the next thing we will do is review our minutes. So has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes for February 5th, 19th, and March 5th?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so those minutes are approved. So the next item on our agenda is the COVID-19 discussion, comments, and suggestions.
Madam Chair, if we can back up real quick, I thought we just approved February 5th meeting, but I do have a change for February 19th.
Okay.
Those minutes. To my memory, and Ms. Walker, you're gonna have to help me here. I don't believe you attended the Sunshine meeting, and right now it says that you were in attendance there. So,
Oh, that's a correction. No, I was not able to attend that meeting.
okay, so I would move
That should be
to,
corrected.
perfect. So I would move to approve these minutes if Ms. Walker's name is removed from being in attendance.
Okay. Okay, anyone second his motion to amend and approve?
I second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so those minutes are approved for February the 19th, and March 5th is okay with everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I guess I have a motion to amend the agenda. I wanted to add, in one of these sections to discuss the Confederate flag. We received some emails. I think you all have received those emails, and I think that should be a discussion for us today. So I make a motion to amend the agenda. Could I have someone to second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we could just put that, where do we want to put that? The discussion at the end, beginning? I'll say put it right after COVID. How about that?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that'll be 4 then. We'll say 4A.
3A, Coven is 3.
Or 3B. How about that? 3B.
3B.
Yeah, that's better. So for the discussion on COVID-19, does anyone have any thing that they'd like to say, any updates or any adjustments that you would like to be made to the meeting? I know the one thing was I asked for us to have the Zoom capability because I knew that not everyone would feel comfortable coming here today. So is there any input that you all have for that? How about you, Ms. Pender?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay.
I think that
I'll be out of lockdown, Saturday.
so I think that was just a good point made, you know, to have an option available in case anyone wanted to attend by Zoom.
Yeah.
Sufficient.
Yeah, I normally have my mask, and I left it right in the car, rushing in here, so. So the next item on the agenda is the Confederate flag. So I received a lot of emails, and I know you all have, about the Confederate flag, considering what is happening around the nation right now and how it can impact our students when they come back to school. And so what I wanted to discuss with you all, well, Superintendent, you have something you want to say? So I can let you go first, and then maybe I don't even have to say anything.
Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I will just tell a quick story and how it hit my heart, and my heart drives my walk. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with Marshawn Green and a number of other individuals, and a story was told to me regarding a reality that I was unaware of, and how the Confederate flag was used to make other students in our buildings feel unsafe, feel to be less. And I made the comment in that conversation, wow, I feel like I've gone back 20, 25 years, coming from where I've come, coming how I was raised. Weeks later, NASCAR bans the Confederate flag. Weeks later than that, U.S. Army takes the appropriate action. Just coming week, Duval County Schools is in the process of renaming 7 schools. In receiving all of the feedback that we have received as it relates to the Code of Conduct, which everyone knows it has been under review for the last month, in evaluating myself as the leader, my thoughts are as follows. Every single child that walks into our schools, it is our responsibility to provide an environment for them where they feel safe, where they feel comfort, and they know they can focus in on teaching and learning. And any symbol, any sign, any words that make them feel any less or take their focus off their learning, we are responsible for acting. We are responsible for protecting. Parents of all races, religions, backgrounds entrust us on a daily basis to provide an environment for their students where they can feel safe, they can feel comfortable, and they can focus in on teaching and learning. We need to provide that environment. As I receive the feedback and evaluate the feedback, some of the statements were things that just make me feel uneasy. Students not willing to share because they feel as if no one would bother to act or listen. They've been through that. Nothing changes, nothing is modified. I want to ensure every student feels valued and respected, and when parents send them to us, we provide that environment in which they feel safe. As a result, we have modified our Code of Conduct. We have met with the Code of Conduct Committee just yesterday and proposed language that I'll ask Ms. Dampier to come and read, which would address symbols explicitly stating Confederate flag, swastika, gang memorabilia, or whatever the appropriate title would be, and to ensure all students walk into our schools, feel valued, and know in this house, and it is a house, it's the house that our principals are charged to lead. Our parents want us to provide those environments. It's our responsibility. So what we are proposing to the school board is the following statement. Ms. Dampier, if you could graciously support me in reading that statement.
Good afternoon. The school district is committed to providing an educational setting that is safe, secure, and free from offensive conduct, harassment, and bullying for all of our students and school employees. Unlawful bullying and harassment, cyberbullying, sexual cyberbullying, hazing, dating violence and abuse, biased behavior, unlawful discriminatory harassment of protected classes, and gang-related activities of any type will not be permitted. Students shall not racially harass or intimidate others by name-calling, using derogatory slurs, wearing or possession of items depicting or implying hatred or prejudice. Students shall not, at school, on school property, or at school-sponsored activities, display or transmit in any medium, including clothing, jewelry, posters, stickers, flyers, or buttons, writings, images, or symbols that are reasonably expected to be divisive, demeaning, or offensive to any person or group of or disruptive to the learning environment, including but not limited to writings, images, or symbols associated with hate groups that are obscene, slanderous, or libelous, that are associated with intimidation, violence, or violent groups, which advocate racial, ethnic, or religious prejudice. Items that promote intolerance or confrontation, including the Confederate flag or swastika, or that degenerate others on the basis of race, color, religion, creed, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, or disability. Images and symbols covered by this policy are permissible in library or approved learning materials or in a classroom setting, example, a history class discussion of the Civil War or World War II as part of a learning assignment supervised by a teacher. Schools shall appropriately identify, report, investigate, and respond to situations of bullying, harassment, cyberbullying, sexual cyberbullying, hazing, dating violence and abuse, biased behavior, and gang-related activities of any type. This applies whether incidents occur on school grounds, at school-sponsored events, through school computer networks, off school grounds, or in any way an impact on school safety and positive school climate. To ensure a bully-free school environment, schools shall practice the following. Number 1, identify where and when bullying occurs. Number 2, train all school personnel to recognize bullying. Number 3, increase adult supervision on campus, hot spots. Number 4, create an anti-bullying task force charged with educating students and staff. And 5, integrate anti-bullying materials into curriculum for discussion and role play.
Thank you, Ms. Dampier.
This is a long time coming.
And it is a long statement, and that's why I had her read it. It is a thorough statement. And the truth of this for me, as we were planning what we are titling Unity Week, which is a modification to the return of school, in which we would highlight not only the systems and structures of coming back together as a school community and family, but focus in on the values and the behaviors associated with values in order to bring our students together, really to walk the walk, really to be at the forefront of creating an environment where all students come together, feel safe, feel respected, and feel valued. Unity is on the outside of dignity, respect, hard work, and grit. Until you walk through all of those to get to unity, you can't have unity. My wife, my 2 daughters, my daughters just are coming home right now, and we'll have dinner tonight. And I couldn't sit with them in a sense of comfort if I wasn't right in making sure we brought this forward. The time is right. Those were my words as I received that feedback. I feel it is the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do then, and is the right thing to do now. And it isn't a concluding statement and we move on and we move forward. We force ourselves to continue to have difficult conversations. They're not easy. They're not easy. And matter of fact, my first week here when we went to see the judge, Tony and I, one of the things she said is that this isn't easy. And that's why I provided someone, if you needed help to mediate problems, because these are difficult, complex problems, to use it as a resource. I don't think we need the resource yet, but I'm thankful the resource is there. I am completely, 100% in support of moving this forward to ensure that our environments in our school are environments where when students feel that they're being less or they can't focus in on their teaching and learning as a result of a symbol or words or actions of others, they know the adults in that building have their back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That makes me proud, and it also is an indication that we're heading in the right direction. I remember just 3 years ago when we approached this same issue, and I actually organized a sit-in at the school board meeting where people spoke to this very issue, and after people spoke, it was like next thing on the agenda, you know, so it's just great to hear it addressed and really something coming forward, just not in words, but actually action. So As the equity committee, I make a motion that we vote to approve that resolution that Ms. Dampier just spoke to us. Can I get someone to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Madam Chair, can I speak to this motion?
Okay.
Before we, if that's okay? You motion, so you get the first honors if you want to speak, and of course,
Okay.
Sanders, since she seconded, so I'll defer to you two, and then I do just have a couple words I want to
Okay.
say as well, so. The first, I think, this kind of when Dr. Moore or Mrs. Dampier were speaking, there's a couple words that I kind of wrote down here. The first is intimidation, right? We don't want any of our students to feel intimidated. So I think this is a good way to keep our students safe, secure, and comfortable, because when they come to school, we want them to be focused on, the studies on hand. So I agree with this resolution full-heartedly. And, I certainly don't want any student feeling intimidated when they go to school every day. So this is a great move, so.
Does anyone else, would you like to speak?
I would also like to really commend Dr. Moore, Ms. Dampier, and the leadership for the boldness of being able to move forward with this in this time. Is very appropriate, I believe, and I know there's going to be a relief to a lot of our students who have given us a lot of feedback about what that feels like to see it. So I want to say thank you, and definitely we support joining with the team to support this initiative going forward.
Agreed.
It's,
You, Ms.
it's
Sanders?
long past due, It really bothered me that in 2020, we're still having this conversation, this issue. Because I remember in the 70s, we were having the same conversation. I remember feeling intimidated at Vero Beach High School. But I also remember having a teacher who stood up for me, okay? But everybody didn't have that. Okay, so I think we're moving in the right direction, and I also applaud Ms. Dampier and Dr. Moore, because it takes a lot of courage to make the right decisions, but the one that they've made, I believe, is for the betterment of this entire community.
Absolutely.
And, there has to be change. It starts here. It's so unfortunate that some parents teach their children to hate. And I know I've never taught my children to hate. Most African-American families do not teach their children to hate anyone. We teach to love everybody. But then everybody doesn't teach that. And then when they come to school, they bring those things with them. And we have to have administrators and teachers who are going to stand up and say, no, this is a safe place. Everybody is valuable here, of value, and everybody should feel comfortable and safe. So, once again, I applaud the school district for making that decision, and that resolution, I stand behind it.
What about you, Ms. Pender?
Well, the time is right. The time is right, and we have, right.
I agree. So back to the
Back to the vote.
vote. I was speeding through it, sorry, guys. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Passed.
Let me get you a gavel.
Okay, so then the next thing on the agenda is our Section 2 mentoring. Can we bring up our mentoring data?
Madam Chair, I think Dr. Moore has a presentation. I'm not sure where we want to fit that in.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, because I see Brian up there. Hi, Brian. Okay, so should we have the presentation now, before we get into the mentoring?
I'm okay with it, if Dr. Moore is.
Brandon, can you run the show? Thank you, sir. This is just a brief update. One of the commitments that I made in the development of our African American Achievement Plan was to provide an update to the board once a month. I have fulfilled that commitment as COVID kicked off, it was heartbreaking because, as I've told the story a number of times, within my superintendency, it was the exact time in which I was shifting gears from learning and listening and absorbing who we were as a community and who and how we needed to move forward to really begin the development and creation of our district strategic plan, which would define the action that we would take moving forward. One of the things I was most excited about when it came to the African American Achievement Plan, it was approved for implementation literally the Tuesday before the Friday in which we were closed and have not opened back up in the traditional brick and mortar space. We had spent a lot of time as a team working on the development of that plan. Each of you spent a few times in my office providing feedback and recommendations in the creation of that plan. And one of the things that I celebrated in the seat that I haven't sat in up there since schools were closed was that if this plan came back to the board and was the same plan, then fundamentally we had failed. That the design of the plan was to implement, and as implementing, learn from practice through reflection to refine and improve the plan. And at that time, I made the recommendation that we should come together over the summer and evaluate our implementation, define what had worked and where we needed to improve to create a more effective plan. Is it the bell? So I'm excited. I know this presentation concludes with some of that information, but I wanted to begin there. This is an update, kind of takes you through some of the things that we have learned, some of the things that we have done. This is, as I begin most of my presentations, with a quick look back. This is a slide that you all have seen before, that the creation of the plan was done so with high expectations, equity, transparency, accountability, and collaboration. And those are unique to the creation of this team to do this work. And it really has been what I would call guiding principles. And if you looked at our district strategic plan, you see similar guiding principles to drive. Are we collaborating? Are we accountable for our actions? Are we being transparent? Are we truly ensuring equity at all levels within the organization? And are we doing so with a high expectation? You see here, these are some actions that were accomplished during the 1920 school year, developed, received board-approved the plan. That was a true accomplishment because the plan should have been approved prior to the start of the school year, and we were able to get it approved after my first months. Enhanced our district's equity website page to increase transparency to the community. We continue to improve the quality of that web page with feedback that we provide. Establish the expectation for development, initiation of individual school-based implementation plans for the African American Achievement Plan. So this was not a district plan. This transformation, I always say, happens in schools. So this was an intentional design for us to push the plan to school sites and create a plan that is unique based on the parameters of the plan in order to ensure it's designed to meet the needs of your particular school. Participate in our community's MLK parade, implement addition of a district equity report card to progress monitor the equity related to the various outcomes, established an African American Achievement Council, which is an opportunity for me to receive feedback on the impact this system and school is having, really ensuring I am committed to having a deep understanding of our reality. Attended all scheduled equity committee meetings, provided monthly updates to the board on the status of the African American Achievement Plan, as mentioned, maintained ongoing communication and contact with NAACP and equity committee leadership, provided professional development to principals to culturally responsive learning environments, communicated via Twitter my stance against racism and systematic discrimination, participated in the Vero Beach PD George Floyd event, provided status reports related to the equity work to the courts. What we have learned, so we say all of that. Sorry, I'm going too fast now. What we have learned An increased focus on equity has involved all stakeholders and staff members, and I'm very proud of that. One of the work that I quickly realized that equity was thrust upon the back of one young lady in this district, and it was everyone's responsibility. It was part of a principal's evaluations, part of district levels evaluations as it relates to what you are doing to move this agenda, the agenda of ensuring all students are being treated in the appropriate manner to provide learning environments to ensure they're finding success. The work of equity is complex. Describing this work through data is equally complex. And we put that statement in there because we're still working through our struggles to accurately capture and report what is our reality, and to do so in a transparent way. And we acknowledge that and continue to strive to improve within that environment. What's monitored gets done, and that's a statement that I asked to be added because the reality is we could have wrote this plan and then went on to COVID-19. We did not lose focus in the implementation of this plan. We continued to collect data. We continued to monitor the implementation. We did not want to lose focus by taking our eyes off the action plans that were developed. And data must be available and transparent to all stakeholders. Continuing to look ahead, currently reworking our goals and action steps based on the latest data available, and analyzing the current plan in light of COVID-19 school closures. And that was, as I said, an impactful area, because the reality is some of the data that was in this plan was heavy on student outcome, was heavy on suspension. Students not in school, suspension goes down. Outcomes and assessments not being provided limited the amount of data that we could absorb. Improved effectiveness and increased focus on systems improvement due to the district's restructuring, really looking at master schedules, looking at where students are assigned, a very proactive approach. So as we are in the midst of summer, we're working with our principals through the leadership of Mr. Meyer and his team, ensuring that every student is placed in the appropriate course. And we're not waiting for school to start to say, hey, wait a minute, why aren't these students who demonstrate academic ability to be in rigorous courses not in rigorous courses? We do that ahead of time. In the coming weeks, third week in July, all principals will come in this room, have their master schedules, and we will validate all students are in the right place in order to ensure we have students where they need to be. Strategic Plan 2025 will further the solidarity of our commitment to the equity in all aspects of our work. Very excited about our strategic plan. We've done very important work that we'll be sharing during our Equity Day on how we have begun to align, as promised, the African American Achievement Plan to our district strategic plan. And as you recall, when I gave the initial presentation and took it to the board, there was boxes that were left empty that said, how and where is this going to link to the strategic plan? We're excited to share that with you in our upcoming workshop on how we've done that. The intention there is as we begin to implement that district strategic plan, we're not walking away from this work in which we've defined as a priority. We've done that forward thinking in order to ensure there is no disconnect. It is 100% aligned, and we will ensure success. These are the areas of focus within our district strategic plan. You see them there. I feel like I'm already reading too much to you. I apologize. Areas of progress. And these are areas of progress. Are they tremendous celebrations? The answer to that question is no. But you see some things that we were able to measure in comparison, even though COVID-19 modified what we're able to. So extended learning opportunities, you see percent of students participating. This is of the total population, 52% white, 22 Hispanic, African American, 20% of students participating in extracurricular activities, 58, 17 Hispanic, 20 Black. Credit recovery, percent of total courses recovered, 40% white, 31 Hispanic, 25%. School recognition ceremonies, percent of total students recognized. And some of this data was data that we weren't previously capturing or capturing inaccurately, so it in some ways is a baseline of where we were ultimately collecting data. So we don't have that trend looking backwards, but why weren't we collecting that data? So now we have the opportunity to say, are we really being intentional? And if you look at extended learning opportunities, man, disparity. You look at extracurricular activities, man, disparity. Credit recovery, disparity. School recognition ceremonies, disparity. What's monitored gets done. Now we have the data, and now we know we need to grow within each of these particular areas. Discipline measures are down from 18-19. While it is in due, and we acknowledge as a result of COVID-19, you'll see variances. But when you look here, I'll just put it up on the screen. It's highlighted. You see improvements within these particular areas. But with COVID-19, I don't think that's something that we should, stand up on the stage and celebrate. But we put it up there because it is data, but we acknowledge with COVID-19, students not in school, obviously you're going to see a decrease over course of that time. Opportunities for improvement. Consistent data monitoring in all aspects of hiring process has provided a basis for increased minority hiring. So you can see percent of applicants, interviewees, new hires, overall teachers. We are still in the midst of doing this work now. We will have a number of teaching positions still yet to hire. So this number is opportunities once again to review. This kind of looks at us through COVID-19, and you see the connectivity and use of students from February 25th, and those lines are tight. They are parallel, so that was actually an encouraging sign when you look at students at the elementary level with consistent usage, online learning. This is iReady data that we pulled. We go through May 3rd because the following week, we went in and started taking the diagnostics, and diagnostics are a one-time thing, so usage goes down, so it would be a little misleading to go beyond that particular date. Kindergarten readiness rates fell slightly. This is a point of pride and privilege for us as a community, and we still have work to do when it comes to all of these numbers that are on the screen. And this number, as a result of COVID-19, is still going to have significant challenges as we look ahead. Grade point averages for high school students fell slightly from 18-19. It is what it is. It is acknowledging it, and there are opportunities. What makes this number go up? More rigorous, differentiated instruction, providing opportunities for students to be in honors and AP courses. Not only do you see the variance from 18-19 to 19-20, but also the gap between white, Hispanic, and black. So opportunities to improve at all aspects in terms of overall GPA as well as the gap. Discipline referrals, won't spend a lot of time here, but once again, COVID-19, so you see the data there. Not a tremendous celebration. All right, implications for progress monitoring. I need to continue focus on eliminating systematic inequity in all school environments. I think we took bold moves tonight and will continue as we move through next week in the coming school year to continue that work. A need for continued alignment of the African American Achievement Plan goals with the strategic plan. I think we'll be doing a lot of that work in the coming weeks when we have our workshop for the day. A need for increased innovations and capacity building, culture responsive learning environments to more effectively decrease achievement gaps. I think one of the things that I have charged Dr. Long to create, and she has taken the wheel and just driving us to a place that I'm very excited to get. What the Equity Day, what is the, you have a better name for it?
Equity in Action, thank you.
Equity.
Vision 2025.
Yes, and I may ask her at some point just to kind of walk through the agenda and the power, I'm sorry, she's like looking at me like, you put me on the spot. The power of that agenda, the goal that particular day is to bring the leadership of schools, principals, assistant principals, our elected officials, sheriffs, community leaders together, really to have the conversation. And have the conversation through the lens of the reality of what is in our schools and how our schools make our children feel, how all children feel. And I think the agenda is going to tell that story through multiple perspectives, allowing us to realize the environments which we all support creating. We'll go through those workshops throughout the day, and then the evening, the leadership teams will have the opportunity to come together and be in response to how they have been impacted and how they're going to create and modify their school site-specific plans to ensure that they're improving the reality as it relates to their environments in their particular schools. A need to strategically focus progress monitoring on high-impact strategy areas. That is some of the work that we're doing around strategic planning, ensuring that we're continuing to monitor, I'm going to put all these up here, continuing to monitor the most important high-yield strategies. And these are some things in terms of next steps. Strategic Plan 2025, equity is the center focus of that strategic plan. As we've designed that plan, we continue to move equity up in its level of priority. It stands as a guiding principle that will guide all of our actions, all of our behaviors, and all of our decisions in this district. The Equity Summit, which I've just discussed, conducting an end-of-year analysis of equity data, the problem solving and revising the African American Achievement Plan, implementing a community-wide day of equity, discuss that, revising school-based action plans based upon the African American Achievement Plan revisions. That's part of that day as well. Initiating 2021 African American Achievement Plan action steps and progress monitoring. So you can see the Equity Summit. Ms. Dampier, I don't know if you would want to come and speak through this. This is the day of work, and you can see it is a full day of work, Ms. Dampier. But excited. I apologize for being lengthy. We will send you copies of this PowerPoint so you have it. It is a lot of information, but since we didn't meet last time, I wanted to spend a little bit of time going over our continued commitment not to be about words, but to be about actions. And hopefully you are finding a level of confidence in my leadership that it is not words, it's not lip service, it is action. And we continue to drive to provide environments for each and every single one of our students, because if my daughters were still in school, that's what they would deserve. And quite honestly, they are who they are because they grew up in a diverse, rich environment, and they are better people today of it, and that's what the children of this county need. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very excited about our Equity Summit Day on June 24th. Equity members should have received a copy today of some data, as well as all of the proposed changes for next year and compared to last year. We also sent you feedback, a feedback form, so you can start looking at it and talk, and really taking a deeper dive with the data, as well as the action steps and some changes that you would like to see made. So this is not going to be a sit and get. This day is to be interactive, to be collaborative, to get insight from departments, as well as insight from you. So this plan has not been completed. We just started and pretty much gave it a shell, but we want your input. So please take the time over the next couple of days to review that and come ready to work. And these are some proposed items that we have for the agenda, and we're willing to take feedback. It's not finalized. I sent that in the email today. I said I was going to present this proposed agenda to the team tonight, and then tomorrow we will finalize it based on your feedback. So first, it will start at 9 o'clock. We'll have welcome and introductions. And then we had Dr. Long and Dr. Jacobs. They actually did a professional development with the principals on the review of the root cause analysis of the achievement gap. So Dr. Long will be sharing the results of that with you. First thing that morning, we wanted to start out with the results because that was one of those action items in the plan from this past year. So we want to share those results with you. Next on the agenda is the end of the year data review, and we were thinking an hour of that. As you know, we do not have the FSA or end of the course data, but we do have other measures that we're tracking, such as credit recovery, grade point average, course failures. So this would be the time that I'd like to know what else do you want, because we want to get it right. We want to make sure that we have the data to support the growth and the learning opportunity and discussions for that. So I'll keep moving on, and then I'll come back to that one. And then next we have the African American Achievement Plan and its alignment to our strategic plan. We want to embed, everything is embedded together and intertwined together, and we want to show you how the data in the achievement plan aligns to the strategic plan and how they mirror each other. Next we have stakeholder feedback on the data reporting format. We've heard time and time and time again, even in our last conversation with the African American Achievement Council, that the data is a little overwhelming with the plan. So we're gonna bring some samples that we took. We even went back to Pinellas County and looked at some of the things that they had, as well as some other districts, as well as we want your feedback. So we will show you some samples, and then we want to build that format during this time as well. Then we'll have lunch from 12 to 1 that will be provided. And then from 1 to 4, that's gonna be the work session where we're collaborating together in teams, groups, and we do have an idea for those people who will be joining us via Teams or via the phone. And this is where the departments will get together with each equity committee member and go over the proposed changes. And then, of course, the equity member will talk about some of the proposed changes they'd like to see as well and feedback. And then we'll share out, we're gonna do a protocol with that process. And then we'll break from 4 to 5:30 for dinner. That will be on your own. And then we'll come back and we will do another protocol where we debrief and refine the plan from that feedback from that 1 to 4 session. And then we're gonna do an activity for a reflection. And that reflection will tie in to the data portion from that earlier part of the morning. So at this time, I welcome feedback so we can get it right.
So, okay, so you're doing Teams, but is it gonna be live stream? Like if just parents or whoever want to watch, will they have access to watch from home?
I mean, we can, but yeah, we can do that.
And then the other thing, will you have the risk ratio information with this in the presentation of end of the year data?
Okay. Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that's what they talked about at the community meeting. That's one of the main things that they wanted to know, like the risk ratio data. We know that COVID-19 happened, but what was it prior to?
Okay.
Anyone else have any feedback, questions?
I know you won't have end of the year data at the summit, but when will you have end of the year data?
Well, we're not assessing, so we'll have other measures that we'll go over, like the GPA, credit recovery data, but because the kids didn't take a test this year.
Right.
There's no, there's no assessment.
Will you have like the iReady and, what is it?
Achieve 3,000.
Achieve 3,000, yeah.
Anything else?
And then my other question about the data, just all this data, is it's lacking charter information. Like, we don't have any charter information here, but when we go to the courts, charter FSA scores and things are included in our compliance. So I just feel like this is just half.
14% is what's missing. But I agree, and to be transparent, open, and honest, I struggle with that as well. My recommendation is we need to ask them to come in. I'm sure they would be happy to come in and present a presentation regarding the work that they're doing within this particular area. We do not have oversight, as you know, of charter schools. It is a pass-through, but providing opportunities for them to come in and share the good work that I'm sure they are doing, I think they would appreciate that opportunity to come and share.
And who do we go through to do that? Chris, you're the liaison?
Yeah, I can reach out to the charter schools.
And I know we've reached out to them several times, so when the schools have to do their action plan, we send them the action plans as well, the requirement, but they don't always respond back to that.
Okay.
Anything else that you'd like to see?
So Chris, you're gonna invite them to come in? and-
Yeah, whenever we schedule our next meeting, I don't think it'd be appropriate for the summit, but if we have a next, equity committee, I don't know if we set that date yet, I can't remember, I don't think we have.
No, we haven't.
So that's something that we can, once we set that date and we agree that I can send those invites out.
Okay.
For me, it looks pretty comprehensive, and I look forward to participating.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Ms. Pender? Ms. Pender's quiet. Have we lost her?
She responded back, she said, thank you, earlier to the email, so.
Okay, I had to get off mute.
Any?
Well,
Okay.
when he was presenting the data, he answered the question I had. It was, how would you know the results? How would we have data when we were out of school starting March 17th? But he answered the question when he said they were looking at grade point average and those areas. So I'm good.
Are you fine with the agenda? You have any input for the agenda for the Equity Summit on June 24th?
It's okay.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you all for the work that you're doing and for the information that you're providing.
Thank you.
We will definitely be involved. Okay, so at this time, we'll allow citizen input before we go to the next section. So if there's anyone who has something that they would like to say.
Madam Chair, I'm still timing them for 3 minutes, correct?
Yes. Mr. Stewart, you don't have anything tonight? I'm expecting you to show up for me. We've missed you. We've missed you.
Yeah, waiting to be invited. I do appreciate the invitation. I must say, first of all, I'd like to commend Dr. Moore for him doing what he said he was going to do. I think he's doing an excellent job starting out. With me being a Vietnam veteran and being born and raised in Indian River County, I always was intimidated by the Confederate flag. I don't feel that I was a human after I come from Vietnam if I have to tolerate a Confederate flag that identified me as 3/5 of a person. All my life, I've lived here, graduated Gifford High School. I've not seen one person to take the courage that he has taken about this situation. If I'm intimidated about it after going to Vietnam 2 times, how do you think our children feel about it? I commend you. I thank you. Just that alone, you got my vote. Now, I know we have a lot more to do. I understand naming buildings and naming streets. is not going to make us equal. Identifying the places where we are unequal and actually coming up with plans to eliminate that and bridge those gaps, that'll make us equal. He's doing that too. I commend you for that. And I know that none of you all are going to vote for me to be president of the United States. So with that, I'm going to leave it there until the next time. You don't have to do the bell on.
I can stop it now.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Good to see you again. Okay, so then we'll have Dr. Long now.
Good evening, Equity Committee, and
So is this a presentation or are we timing you?
Is this a citizen input or is this?
this is a public information announcement. How about that? A PIA. How about that?
At your discretion.
At my discretion.
Putting
At
the
my
pressure on you,
discretion.
Madam Chair.
At Vice Chair's discretion.
Just wanted to come up and share, as Dr. Moore shared earlier, I am planning an Equity in Action Re-Envision 2025 conference, and it is a community conference. It will be held on July 24th. Not June, but July 24th. All these 24s flying around. And it's going to be held at Storm Grove Middle School. And it's a full day. In the morning, starting at 7:30, I will be having breakfast available for all participants. And I'm expecting to have 150 at least after all of the invitations go out to the community. And then after that, we will have our welcome by our chairman of the board of the school board. Our keynote speaker will be none other than Dr. Moore. And then I also have planned to have Life in Indian River. And for that portion of the day, I will have asked some students from our 2 high schools to speak and share their experiences on those campuses, as well as I've also asked 2 individuals who were a part of the first individuals that went from segregation to integration at Vero Beach High School. They're going to share their experience as well. And then there are going to be 4 breakout sessions that everyone will rotate through. The title of those sessions are Journey to Equity, Historical Overview, Restorative Justice, and Leadership with Moral Courage. And the presenters are dynamic, if I may say so myself. I have Dr. Donna Elam, who is coming to us from her own consulting firm on equity out of Wellington, Florida. Representative Geraldine Thompson will also be leading a breakout session, and she is a representative in the House for the state of Florida. Also have our own Dr. Mara Schiff and Ms. LaVon Walker, who will be doing a session on restorative justice. And Leadership with Moral Courage will be Dr. Rosalind Osgood, who is the only African-American school board member in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. So the lineup is fantastic, I think. I'm excited about it. And at the end of the 4 sessions, then we will do a debrief with the community, which will be at 2:30, so lunch is also going to be provided for everyone that will be in attendance as well. That debrief, and then at the end of that time, after the community is dismissed, then school-based leadership along with district leadership will remain to work on their plan of actions for implementing equity across their campuses within the district. So it's a fun-filled day, a very informative day, a very powerful day. So I do expect to see you all there. You will be getting invitations. I'll be mailing them out tomorrow. I'm going to hit send. So that's what you have to look forward to. So thank you for the time to share that information.
Okay, so this was not for parents, because I was about to say, why is it at 9:30 if it's for parents, but it's not. It's actually
It's for the community.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not for parents. It's for community and school-based and district leadership.
Okay,
Yes. Now, if some parents want to come, that's fine. They just have to RSVP.
okay.
And what is the title of it? Because I have to put it in my
Oh, the
phone.
title again, I'm sorry. It's Equity in Action,
Okay.
Re-Envision 2025. And you will be getting an invitation.
Okay.
Digital. I'm not mailing anything, costs too much money. Digital. Push the button. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight to the sections we've discussed so far? Okay, so we'll go on to mentoring, which is section 2 of the joint plan. Can we bring up the data for mentoring? Okay, so we'll just take a 3-minute break while, or we could do 5-minute break while Ms. Davis sets up. longer break. We saw you guys were a little fatigued, so, you know. So now we're revived, and we are moving on to mentoring, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're moving on to mentoring.
So for mentoring, members, what you have in front of you is a survey from this, they call it the second survey, but that's really from the 9 weeks. And we also have the end-of-year survey by mentees. So that's kind of their feedback form. I will tell you about 100% of all new teachers 1 through 3 were invited to participate, and most of them have. I don't have the final numbers in front of me, but what you see are the feedback from the mentees.
And this is what we don't have for the screen, right?
Yes, the black and white one we do not have for the
Okay.
screen. But there are extra copies at the table if anybody wants to see some.
So basically what they asked was the school, the subject or grade level the mentee was in. Do you have a school-based mentor? If so, please submit their name. Then think about the area of growth you identified after the first 9 weeks. How have you grown in this area? What area of growth will you focus on during quarter 3? And please describe the need in detail. You may choose to continue with the same area from the last quarter. So they're asking them to basically direct attention to whatever area that they would like to see improvement in for the next quarter. And what are some challenges, if any, you are currently facing in the classroom? What type of professional development support would be beneficial to you right now? And what support would be helpful from your school-based mentor? And this is, they inquire on these areas every 9 weeks?
I'm not sure if it's every 9 weeks, but I know it is at least quarterly, or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So I know every new teacher has the opportunity to participate several times. If they don't participate, it's, hey, you know what, can you do it again? So that's what you're seeing here. So, you know, I did ask the question. So if you look here on this colored sheet, on the top, it says African-American teachers. I said, why are there only 3 teachers on here? Like, why don't we have feedback from more African-American teachers? The comment was, we have approximately 20 new African-American teachers participating, and only 3 after several attempts wanted to participate in the survey, so. But I would have liked to have seen more of those. Second one?
I think you're looking at their mentors.
Yeah, you're looking at the mentor? Yeah,
Yes.
not the mentee. Yeah, the mentee's name, I don't believe, is on the form. The mentor's is. Gotcha, so it is every quarter. Thank you. So one thing in this sheet, this is the new sheet that I just handed out, this one. One thing that my eye first went to is the second column from the end. It says, did you enjoy teaching this year? I'm seeing a lot of positive comments. Loved it. Yes, I love this job. Yes, I greatly enjoyed teaching. You know, there's a couple negatives, but for the most part, you know, I'm happy to see that there's a lot of positive comments in that area. So I just wanted to point that out.
Are these anonymous or no? They identify themselves?
Yes, they are
Okay, yeah.
anonymous. So.
Okay, I'm like, are they pressured to say yes?
That was one of the, I think that was the feedback from last year. So we tried to, in the past, they tried very hard to just have the mentee answer the questions and then they give feedback. So no, it's not shared with anyone else, it's an individual route.
Okay.
So it's not shared with the mentor?
The results, if they want to share that with them, because the feedback was, hey, it could be intimidating, you know, that kind of thing. So if they want to share that feedback, but they do it overall throughout our mentees, you know, their filter. So they do it generic, but if someone wants to share it, I was being mentored by someone, and they wanted to share that with their mentor, they could.
Yeah, but that would be individual up to the mentee, okay.
thank you for that clarification.
And in the last meeting, we had discussed, like, with the mentoring, how do they have access to some type of outlet to discuss if they're having issues with their mentor? And I guess this is, the survey kind of targets that. It said, did you feel supported by your school? Elaborate on your thoughts. Did you feel supported by the district? And then it also asked if, where is it? What was your biggest barrier this year? So someone said, not enough PD for my subject, and then another teacher said, too many students with IEPs in the same class without support. So do you ask them anything in particular to their mentor, like, are you liking your mentor? You know, how, any of that relationship?
I'm no longer in terms of that department, but in the past, that was the feedback that the professional development specialists, they have relationships with the teachers.
Okay.
So they feel comfortable. The teachers would be here, we just had a couple of teachers here a couple of weeks ago. They would be here 6 or 7 o'clock at night with professional development specialists. They just feel very comfortable with the professional development specialists because they're non-evaluative, they're non-threatening, so they do have relationships. We've had groups of teachers here with professional development specialists doing tutoring, professional development after hours, 7 o'clock at night, even on the weekends, because they feel like they have that good rapport with their professional development specialists who are assigned to their particular school, so. But that was the feedback, you remember last year from the meeting we had as a PD in this room, you guys said, well, how do you know they're gonna tell you the truth? Why, if it's anonymous, how, you know, and so that was the feedback we got, and I know that was implemented last year with, you know, with Fidelity.
So these are new questions then, basically? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for taking action on that. And I do know that every mentor did sit down with the mentee and say, hey, what do you need? Is there anything you know, how do we want to, you know, make this for you, and what would best be beneficial for you? So if somebody said, hey, I need help with focus, or if I need help implementing strategy in the classroom, they can work on that throughout the year as well.
Okay, do we have any mentoring data to put up, or no? This is just. Okay. Okay, and then what's the next information that we have?
Madam Chair, if we can table transportation for now and skip to extracurricular activities.
Extracurricular, okay. Does anyone in the public have any comments about mentoring before we go to the next section? Okay, now we'll go into extracurricular activities.
So what you see, Madam Chair, in front of you is the data broken down by school, by club or sport that's unique to that school in some cases, and then by race participating in each activity.
you have to?
She's trying to, the file is not, it's pulling up, so there's an error in the file. She's trying to open it, so
So Chris,
that's it.
across the top, these are the total number of participants by race?
I believe so. And you also, if a student participates in multiple, of course, that'll be tallied there as well. So
Okay.
you've got to,
Thank you.
yep.
Can we start getting some keys with these charts?
What do you mean?
You're our verbal key, but can we just like have something that if you weren't here, I can look and say, okay, well,
Give me an example. Are you talking about like what a club is, or what each club is? Is that what you're looking for, or
like, I guess what, like some of the questions that LeBron asked about that.
what is
across
that
the
top one? Yeah, we can be more explicit. Yeah, the file shows in there.
I don't know what SWAT is at Gifford Middle School.
Students working against tobacco.
Yeah?
My question is this, how are students made aware of the mere fact that these clubs even exist at their school?
Good question. I know some schools may do it differently. Some schools may have like an open house, have different booths, set up to say, hey, why don't you come join SWAT or whatever it is, and have student representatives to have them come join. Maybe newsletters on the announcements. If you want to join, girls track, come sign up with this person or the front office. So.
I think when we have the principals here, I'll try to find out additional information about that, because that might be one of the factors as to why we don't have much participation from certain groups of children. They're just not aware
Okay.
that these clubs and these organizations exist at their school. And
Would
then-
you want a question to go out to the principals? Because we could just request
Yeah,
that it go out.
I want to know, how are students made aware that these clubs are even existing at their school? Because, when you look at it, you see like the flag football, there's signs all over the place. That's why kids get involved in that all the time, okay? But even like sailing, how would I know that sailing is available at my school?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because with most of the chorus, like you see a large participation, but not many black students participating.
Are you looking at a particular school or just kind of in general?
Basically, all of them, if you look, like if you start at Beachland, they have 56 white students, 17 Hispanic, less than 10 black students. And then Glendale, 35 white students, less than 10 Hispanic, less than 10 black students. And IRA, not IRA, where's the other one? Gifford Middle is more, 24 white students, less than 10 Hispanic, 24 black students, less than 10 multiracial. There was another school, IRC, 65 white students, 11 Hispanic students, less than 10 black students.
And a lot has to do with when these clubs and groups meet as well. That's probably why Gifford Middle has more, because the students live in this community, so most of them walk home anyway, so they can stay after school, because, you know, they're gonna walk home anyway. But then if I'm at another school and I have to take the bus home, then I have no way to get home, so I can't participate in any after-school activities like that. So it depends on the time that they're meeting.
That's true. So what are some questions that we have for extracurricular activities? Because even with looking to see if there's diversity, as you were stating, there are certain things that we need to know in order, so when we look at barriers, because I know one thing that we talked about last time was there being a outlet for students to, or parents to like say, hey, you know, my child was trying to be a part of orchestra and this happened, but if there's no outlet for parents to communicate, saying like this barrier was placed when I tried to enroll my child, I think that's something that maybe we could suggest there being.
So like, are you saying like a representative to receive complaints if they feel like there was a barrier to play a sport? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, or to be involved in a club saying, hey, you know, we went to lacrosse and she just was not included, or we went and they told us this and we got the physical as they stated, but we went back and then there was something else, like those type of situations.
So in the code of conduct, I know there is a discrimination. If somebody feels that they've been discriminated against, there's a contact person, and I believe that person is in student services so it is in the, so if they feel like they've been discriminated against, they can call, you know, this number, and that way they can, you know, talk through those things. So that's, would be a discrimination route for them, so. And I believe
And
that's
our
on the
parents
website.
are parents aware that there is an avenue that they can pursue if they feel that they've been discriminated against?
We can, that's something we can look out, yeah, I mean, that's certainly something we can look into and try to include those things on sports packets or something, but I think we'll take that back and see how we can better advertise it. But it is in the student code of conduct, it is on the website, but I agree, maybe we can figure out our way to better advertise that.
So you have to go on the website to get the student code of conduct?
They get a copy at the
They get-
beginning of the school year.
They can,
But yes, it is also,
so
But they do
currently,
get
I
a
think
hard
moving
copy.
forward, it'll be a digital copy, but they can recommend or ask for a paper copy if they need.
It's like, how many pages, 60-something?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think, so now it's a digital copy, but Mrs. Dampier, do you want to, I'm sorry.
Noah's reading a 60-page document. It has,
Oh, I know you've read it a couple times.
I didn't, mine was only 14 pages.
It's about 70-something pages, but in the past, we did print out, and it was very, very expensive. So this year, we are providing it electronically. Of course, if a student wants it printed out, and we're going to also provide it in Spanish. This will be the first time that it will be provided in Spanish as well. All of our handbooks that will be going out to parents will be uploaded in Spanish. But this is the first time this coming year that it will only be electronic. But if a parent requests a copy, the school will print out a copy because it'll be online. So this is the first year. Before, we used to print it out. It's about $20-some thousand, you know, to print it out for everyone to have a copy.
So then the other question is, if they're doing electronic, are you all going over it in the classrooms and then they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it still is forms that parents have to sign. There's the technology form, there's the media release form, there are several forms that parents have to sign in the back of, and they can actually just print out that page and return it back. So this is something new, but most districts have gone to all electronic.
In the first week of school, the teachers review it, right?
Yes, we are planning, like Dr. Moore mentioned about the Unity Week, we normally train our, we review. And we really want to make it more interactive and fun for our kids. We've amended the code of conduct to make it more about prevention and interventions. So we will be rolling out professional development for our teachers as well as things that, and activities that our students can do as well as parents for the code of conduct, really promoting that it's about prevention, intervention. It's not about just the discipline. We have to provide consequences, but it's not just focused on discipline. We want to make sure our kids are set up for success. We
more
want to teach
positive.
them behaviors. We want to, teach our teachers what, that looks like for level 1 and level 2 as far as the tiered support in their classrooms. So I'm very excited about some possible things that will be coming in the near future or over the summer for that, to support that work.
I would say overall it's more positive than what.
It is very positive.
Good.
One of the things that I think maybe,
For your microphone.
we talked about this a little before in a previous meeting, I believe, but some of the barriers could simply be cost. So for example, at the high school, the cheer team has to pay for the entire apparatus, whereas the football players, a lot of that, because they generate a lot of money, their materials are all provided. So certainly cost would be, a factor in participation. A lot of the clubs require fees. There's a pay-to-play $65 across the, spectrum. It's annually, not for every sport, but those are some of the things to consider. And I think we talked about grant money or, schools, requesting assistance. So that'll be something to consider.
Okay, so if there's costs associated with being a part of a club or,
I'm not sure about certain clubs, but I know athletics.
right, athletics, but, so that makes me wonder, can we get information on if there's a cost for some of these extracurricular activities?
Yeah, I can look into that, yeah. So you want to know what the cost is to
Yes,
participate?
if I wanted to be a part of the chess club, is there a cost? Okay, do I have to pay fees?
Or what do you have to get to be a part of it? Because
Right.
like with golf, you might not have a fee, but then you need a golf club, you
Clubs.
need balls.
Yes.
Like my sister, my sister joined the golf team in Sebastian. My parents went and got her cleats and the ball and the club, and she went to like 2 practices and was
She was done.
like done, yeah.
Because I know, like, if you, at Gifford Middle, if you're a part of the band, okay, that's when they really start working on playing instruments, and they always encourage the parents just to rent one, because kids will start, and, if you buy a trumpet, and a trumpet costs hundreds of dollars, and your child just loses interest after, that grade, then you're just out hundreds of dollars. So, just rent them, and then if they continue to show interest and they're doing well in it, then you can buy one later.
Yep, because I played the tenor sax for 1 year, 7th grade. Then I went on and played sports. So after that, played volleyball and basketball. It was like, yeah, no more band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's a lot of work. I played trumpet, it's a lot of work.
it is
Yeah.
a lot of work.
it is.
And then I couldn't wear lipstick because of the reed and stuff. So
I didn't have that problem.
Yeah, my daughter was happy to not have to play in the orchestra anymore
Yeah.
and play, so it's true. Their interests changed drastically.
it's the camaraderie that you have with the sports and things. It's just a whole another dynamic.
You're right about that.
So then we'll be asking the principals on how they make students aware of the clubs. And then if there are any club dues or costs to participate or things that they need to buy in order to be a part of it.
Right.
Okay, so if there's no more comments, Ms. Pender?
She's probably trying to unmute.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any comments
was,
that you have to say?
Oh, my comment, I was thinking about cost, because I know we have, at Daisy Hope, we have sponsored some of the kids with sports,
Okay.
because they asked, and we would do it. So I would say cost is one of the, I think,
Barriers.
drawbacks.
So when we're asking if there are any costs, are we also asking, like, if they're taking any measures to assist with those costs? Should we be asking that too?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there are any grants or
Okay.
any resources out there that parents would be able to tap into that will assist?
Okay. Okay, so if there's nothing, then we'll just go forward from the extracurricular and see if there's any citizen input for extracurricular. Okay,
I couldn't resist this.
please state your name. I stated you last time, this time.
My name is Anthony Stewart. Again, I'm a Gifford High School graduate who played baseball, who was in the band, who went to school on a music scholarship. And I was appalled to see here in this building several middle schools that shows up playing instruments and not one black student there, not one. And I'm kind of, this thing here, I'm not sure what this really is, because you didn't total anything on this, and we can get stats to say whatever we want them to say. And then there's many of these categories, you got less than 10, but then you got numbers in a bunch of them. I was here during the time we had the students from middle school that came here that were doing art. And there was not one black that was in there in 2 of the middle schools that I was here. I'm trying to figure out how we get 151 at Vero Beach High School. Now, I don't know what kind of stats this is, because it seemed to me that if I was going to do this, I would have known how many total students we were talking about in all the curriculum combined, and I would have dealt with them on a percentage type base. What percentage of blacks? That's the only way we're going to get a real idea as to really, are we really closing this gap or not? Because when we talk about the gap, we're talking about the percentage of blacks that are in our school, the percentage of them that are graduating, the percentage of them that you're putting in these different places. You can't use these raw scores the way you do them and then put less than 10. Then there's some you got 0. And then some of them you got numbers like 151. That would totally destroy the validity of this test, of this, whatever you got. I think there are 2 things that we have to evaluate data on, is validity and reliability. And this would be highly invalid, the way they are done. Even the other ones that you're doing, I don't see how you're going to be able to accurately assess, how you're going to be able to accurately determine whether you make an improvement or not. With band, I played baseball too, Gifford High School, 4 years. We went to the state championship 4 times in a row. I was in the same percussion section with Professor Johnny Lane, a world-renowned percussionist. Goes all over the world playing. He was a percussionist, goes all over the world teaching. When I see students in here on an xylophone ensemble, and I don't see one black in that ensemble, I'm offended, because the xylophone had its origin in Africa. And we are known to be rhythm-type people. We are very rhythmic. And when I don't see children of my color participating, it's not because they lack the ability or maybe not want to. Somewhere we got to put blame where it rests. If they don't feel welcome, they're not going to come.
Time is time.
That's
And
time.
whoever it takes to make them feel welcome. It ain't about the money either, because the parents will get the money if that child
Wants
is
to
showing
do
the
it.
interest.
So,
Did you ring the bell?
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Unless you want to ask me a question.
So I'll just respond to you. So then what you're saying is basically we just need to promote that discrimination line or whatever so that parents know that if their kids don't feel comfortable or feel like they're not welcome, then they call that line. But then my concern is what if it's not discrimination? What if they just don't feel welcome? They don't feel included?
The only way they're gonna feel welcome is the adult that is hosting this extracurricular activity. Make them feel welcome. I remember Mr. Trout coming, recruiting me, saying, hey, I want you to come to this band. He made me feel like I wanted to come, even though I might have not been able to play anything, couldn't read a note. But he made me feel comfortable. And this is what I think we're gonna have to do. If we're gonna follow this, we've got to be sincere and real about what we're doing.
You know, he has a point, because
Yes,
when I
he
started with volleyball, I didn't know how to do anything but jump at the net, spike, and block. But my PE teacher basically hounded me until I came and tried out. One of the people that's watching texted me and said multicultural coordinator. So I'm assuming that the multicultural coordinator could be the point of contact for people who don't feel welcome or included. What exactly do they do, Dr. Long? I know that you're over them.
So there is a multicultural coordinator assigned at each school by the principal, and the thing that they really do is to make sure that they are doing culturally sensitive and culturally inclusive activities on the campus. They monitor the students, the African-American students and Hispanic students, their attendance, their behavior, and their academics. And they do a lot of activities, sponsor a lot of activities for those students on the different campuses. Different campuses, be it elementary, middle, or high school, because of the persons that are in that position, depends on what kind of activities they're doing. I don't dictate to them what to do, but they try to do things that are inclusive of all. And they also work with the teachers to help them work on being more inclusive in the classrooms if they're having some issues with some of the students as well.
Dr. Long, does every school have one?
Yes.
So,
School does.
you know what, Dr. Long, since every school has one, that multicultural coordinator could ensure that children know what club, what sport is available at that school.
This is true. However, I want you to remember, though, that this is a teacher and this is a supplemental position. So they do this also with carrying a full teaching load. And they don't have, and over the years that I've done this for the last 10 years and I've been working with them, they don't have an issue with doing any of that, but sometimes it's the time restraints that they have in order to do some of the things that they need to do. But they are willing to do whatever it takes.
The introduction can be
Sure.
done at the beginning of the school.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
So that students at least know, okay, we have
Available.
a chess club at my school, or we have this, and then, you know, they can, because a lot of things students just don't know about.
That's true.
okay? And, you know, if I'm introduced to something, that might spark my interest, and I want to
Absolutely.
find out more about it.
Okay. And I can definitely direct that, no problem.
And so you're saying to charge them also with being the point of contact?
Yeah,
if
they
they
should
don't-
be the person that does sort of like an orientation for minority students, blacks and Hispanics, so that they know what's available at their school. Because, you know, the students that are participating in these activities, typically, they tell their friends about it, okay? If I'm not a friend, if I'm not your friend, you're not gonna share that with me, right? So how will I find out?
Right. So point taken, and again, no problem doing that. They would have to get with the principals to see what clubs are being offered, but that's doable.
Dr. Long, can I ask you, can the multicultural person actually recruit somebody to play on the football team?
Madam Chair, if we're going to allow him to speak, Mr. Stewart, he will need to be in the microphone. That way we can capture what he's saying.
One question, Mr. Stewart, wait, in the microphone.
Sorry, we just want Mrs. Pinder to be able to hear you now. Yeah, we want Mrs. Pinder to be able to hear your question.
I want to know, does this multicultural person have the authority to recruit football players?
They're not coaches. So that, they're not coaches. Generally, that goes to the coaches.
Sure.
I'm sure they can make recommendations, but that has not been a part of what they do,
Okay.
to answer your
Well,
question.
So, yeah, because usually the coaches get the football players, the coaches get the baseball player. What I'm saying is, it's up to them to make our kids feel comfortable. There was a time, I come from a school where everybody on my team was black.
That's not a question, Mr. Stewart.
Okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Sanders, were you speaking to helping make students aware of those extra activities? Not
Yes.
necessarily recruiting, but just saying, here are the
Yeah,
opportunities you
that's
can
the first step.
participate.
The first step is making them aware that this is available, okay? The second step would be someone who is actually, like if you're the football coach or the baseball coach, you would be recruiting, okay? But the very first step is I need to know that this is available at my school.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like it goes to the broader issue of all of our schools becoming more inclusive, right? So the leadership teams making sure that everybody knows that we have clubs and opportunities, and we want to see all of our students, because if there's just one person, the multicultural coordinator, who's just putting it out there, I certainly agree that they can take an effort to say, hey, guys, you know, please, we need to see more of you, this can help you, and it'd be more intimate and targeted towards individual students. But I also think that overall, the school climate has to be one that is inclusive and that all students feel like they are welcome and all of the, every opportunity is available to every student.
I agree. Agreed.
Want to ask Ms. Pinder if she?
Ms. Pender, do you have anything that you would like to add?
You might want to ask again, Madam Chair. She got disconnected.
Okay. Ms. Pender, do you have anything that you would like to add about extracurricular activities and the multicultural coordinator and their role?
I think that's a good idea, that the multicultural coordinator speak to the children at the beginning of the year and let them know the activities that are available.
Okay, I agree, just to bring some awareness. Let's see, so I guess the other question I have is, do you have a annual, like, training with the multicultural coordinators, or, I'm sorry.
So normally I have 4 meetings with them throughout the course of the year, 1 per quarter. But seeing that this is something that you want to see done, I will have an extra meeting earlier, once school resumes, with them to let them know that this is one of the things that they'll be asked to do. So instead of 4, I'll have 5. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was a statement, Dr. Warrior said she thinks the teacher responsible for each of the groups, just as the coach for football team should be responsible for encouraging a diverse group. So how do we go about that for, like, accountability?
Yeah, we'll have to think that through, but I think that might be a good idea, just, you know, say, you know, and just, instead of maybe the multicultural person, you know, doing it, maybe have the coach do it, but we'll have to kind of think through that of how the coach can encourage a more diverse.
Yeah, because, like, they could do the introduction,
Yes.
but then the coach, plays, and I guess the teacher, the host teacher plays a huge.
Right, one of the things that you might think about is like, I'm thinking back to my college days, rush days, but when you would be rushed for different clubs or sororities and fraternities, maybe possibly do something like that, have an orientation meeting about the clubs, and then have students sign in who show up.
That's right.
No, that's just an idea.
Yeah, you have me thinking about even
That's a
having.
school rush
a-
week.
Yeah, like a lunch, at lunchtime, having all the clubs out so that kids can sign up, maybe a week of just, you know, activities and I like it, thank you.
No problem.
You know, it was funny when I looked in my yearbook this morning.
Okay.
And I graduated from Vero Beach High School in 1972. Beside the pictures of the seniors, they had all of the clubs that you were involved, affiliated
I
with,
had that when I graduated. in 84.
okay? And I said, well, I've forgotten about that, but I did participate, and there were like maybe 5 or 6 that I was a part of, okay? But I think it was because people invited me to come and be a part of it, basically.
We used to do that back then. It's a different time, different students, but I think that might be one way to kind of get some accountability for that. At least then you would know that it was happening.
Yeah, I just padded my resume. I had like 20 clubs, because going to college, I'm trying to get into Florida State. I'm here. Like, so that now we are to the question, comments, and concerns section. So one of the things that I want to discuss is a special meeting, I guess. Like, we've had our 3rd meeting. Typically, we would only have 4 meetings, and then we'll have the annual. But, well, I'll just pose a question first. Let me go back. I wrote it down. So the question basically is, what do we feel we have accomplished here so far? Because we have just completed our 3rd meeting as of today. Last year, we worked like,
Yes, we did.
yeah,
Yes, we did.
we worked. So this year has gone by pretty fast. I really don't feel like we've done anything because comparing it to last year. But how do you all feel? And where do you feel we are when it comes to like really just reporting to the courts? Okay, do we have any clear identification on progress or lack of progress? Because that's our next step.
So I guess I would put it a different way.
Okay.
What else do we need to accomplish? What else do we need to tackle to feel like we, have enough information in order to prepare, like you said, the annual report? So I would pose it like, what else do we need to uncover? I think, of course, transportation is going to be one, since we haven't discussed that. Student achievement, of course, FSA was canceled by the DOE this year, so we're not going to have student achievement data. Recruitment data, of course, we're still actively hiring teachers and recruiting teachers, so we'll certainly need to dive into that as we finish that up. School enrollment, of course, we want to look at that again. Are you taking notes? Hope somebody's taking notes. So those are some of the areas that I feel that we still need to dive in on and kind of break down and have a good conversation. And I did enjoy the conversation that we talked about extracurricular activities this afternoon. I think we definitely brought up some good questions and some good ideas to move forward with. So for me, it's what else do we need to get accomplished as we move forward? So I know last year we had one extra meeting as we prepared that PowerPoint to share with the board, because we have to do that in Sunshine, of course. We had to come back and do it together. So, of course, I think we're going to have to do that again. So I guess the next question is, when do we want to meet? And then kind of go from there. But I certainly think we just need to have a conversation what's next to accomplish.
Valid points you make. So transportation, recruitment data, school enrollment, achievement, achievement gap, no FSA.
Discipline.
Yes, definitely. So we have this discipline data. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to use it to make further recommendations?
It's not really true data because we've been out, so we really don't
I think Chairman Green brought up earlier looking at the risk ratio, right? Because you're absolutely right. We ended school on March 13th or whatever that date was. So you're right. It's going to, when we look at overall out-of-school suspensions, overall ODRs, of course, it's going to drop because we lost how many months of schools. But I think risk ratio, is a good starting point, or at least have a conversation about.
Sure.
So.
And then we also need to look at the charter school data.
I think we've gotten a little bit better. I can see some growth as far as, being able to get data that we're requesting from last year. It was very difficult to get data. So there's been some progress made there. We just haven't been able to get the charter, and, I mean, some of this we need to tweak a little bit, but we are receiving,
See,
attempts are being made to give us some of the things
right,
we're asking.
but then I'm still questioning some of the data, because we received the data for the transfers, and there was no teacher transfers since March. Like,
Remember, Madam Chair, we were out on.
They were
COVID.
out of school.
Yeah, but there's still agendas that, like, they just approved, the school board has approved transfers and things, so that should have been included in that report.
So we need the most recent.
Yeah.
Isn't that in this packet somewhere?
Yeah, the dates it stops at March.
It stops at March,
It's
so-
March.
I guess a question that we need to ask then is, were there any transfers from March to June?
I've asked for transfers from then to, I want to say, I said April and May in the request. Yeah, then I asked for the entire year, yeah. Okay, so then we need to schedule two meetings, right? So the next meeting that we have, I think should happen after this equity summit, so we could basically
Absolutely.
discuss that information that's coming out. Maybe we can also go over some of this transportation data and everything with that, because that should be like a lot of information. And in that meeting, if we have time, or maybe not, the meeting after that, we need to develop some type of structure with selecting a chairperson and the purpose of this committee, so that since we're nearing an end, when we have new people come in, so if none of us are on here, like, they're not coming in and being like,
Yeah,
okay, what did they do before us?
so like a protocol?
Yeah,
Right.
so develop a protocol.
And then, of course, create the PowerPoint or whatever, however we do, or it doesn't have to be a PowerPoint, whatever we do
Yeah.
to report to the board our findings. So we also have to plan to do that as well. So maybe doing the, the structures and
Yeah.
then the PowerPoint in one meeting. I think
Okay.
that'll be a long meeting, I think, so.
Okay, so then now let's determine the next meeting that we'll have.
The date.
Yes, so June 24th is the Equity Summit.
And then we have the one in July. Do we want to meet between those or have a chance to attend both?
Yeah. Probably meet in between. What do you guys think?
Agreed, yeah.
Between.
So what about the second, like the week of June 6th? What day? July 6th. Eighth, 9th.
You want to do like Tuesday, July 7th? Is there a board meeting on, I don't think there is a board meeting on July 7th. So I think well, it's July. I think there's one board meeting. Chairman Zork, is it? It's the 23rd, so there is not, there won't be a board meeting on the 7th.
Okay, 7th.
Or we can do the
7th?
8th, which is Wednesday. It doesn't matter. Whatever's
Wednesday's
everybody.
not good for me.
Okay.
Ms. Walker?
The 7th is fine.
Ms. Pender, the 7th, July 7th?
Yes, that'll work.
Okay,
5:30?
5:30.
And that's a Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
July 7th.
And what topics are we going to tackle on that one?
So basically, we'll do a recap of the Equity Summit, reporting. And so what we say we need to tackle recruitment.
So all those areas that we
Transportation.
mentioned.
Yeah,
Okay.
recruitment, transportation, school enrollment, achievement gap, discipline.
It's going to be a long meeting. Do we want charter schools at that one? We mentioned that earlier. I can invite them.
Yeah, we can have them there first, basically, you think?
Yeah.
So what information would we want from the charter schools when they came? We definitely want, personnel information from them, right?
Yes.
So we get like their teacher ratio, we want their hiring and recruitment too? Plan.
So new hires, is that what you're?
So basically, like, we want to know, like, their demographics of their teaching, probably student demographics
Yes,
as well.
demographic.
Their hiring, or like, what efforts are they putting to hire African-American teachers?
We want to know about their discipline also, their
Discipline
out-of-school
also.
suspension, in-school suspension, the numbers.
And the reasons students are being suspended or referred.
So basically, we just want everything that we've gotten from
The district.
from the district, right?
Madam Chair, this is Brian. I was wondering if I could maybe just pick it just for a little bit. In regard to the charter data, much of the progress report does include the charter data. Some of what you're talking about with the hiring and the personnel does not. But you want whatever list to go through and highlight which areas of that we do have charter. It is in the backup when we do it, but like extended learning opportunities. Some things they don't participate. I read the charter schools don't participate in areas, so they won't be in that North County chart is the only one that does, but they do it on their own. But if you, whatever that list is of data, I can go through that ahead of time and let you know which of those does include data to save some time.
So,
Thank you.
Dr. McMahon, you're kind of breaking up. I think what he's saying is if we give them a list, we can see what we can pull from our district site. So of course, we won't be able to have like new hires, obviously. So we won't.
Actually, some of it is in there, but I said,
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, because it has
Yeah,
interrupted.
North County
Some of it
charter.
is, so like extracurricular, so for example, and we do have some to participate.
enrollment.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. McMahon.
As I was checking my phone, I had a comment that was texted to me to share, is that a part of the participation, the diversity and participation, is a reflection of the lack of diversity in hiring diverse teachers who coach to do that recruiting. That was
Yeah.
something they wanted shared. Thank you.
That is a good point.
Is that the same with band and chorus and all that?
Likely, yeah.
Probably.
Likely. Okay, so then.
Okay.
So our next meeting will have the charter schools come first and present, and we can ask questions, right? Then after that, we'll just recap the equity summit, go over the information that was presented to us, and address the areas that we don't have information in. So for transportation and recruitment data, we have to figure out exactly what we want to request from transportation. In the last meeting, we said, we went further than just saying, because remember, we had questions that were left unanswered, where we asked about the racial makeup of those riding buses, but we did not ask if buses were available. It was something like that. What?
Yeah, I can't remember, but I know they did provide, transportation did provide bus ridership by race. So I know they did give us that and go into which school. So we have to, like you say, whatever we ask, we got to be very specific on. If we just want, an X amount of bus riders to this school by race, we can certainly do that, So we just got to decide what we're looking for when we look at transportation data. So.
Yeah, I think what we said that we couldn't really determine if, like, students had the option for a bus. So basically, it may say that only 10% of black students rode the bus at Dodgertown, but then there was no survey to see how many parents would let their students ride a bus if a bus was available. So that was a whole nother level. And then the board discussed the cost for that, just doing that survey to see if students would ride, if they have bus available. But I think something has changed since then. Now we have like depot spots, right? So
Yeah, I'm not in the specifics of that, but I know one of Dr. Moore's initiative is school choice, right? And a part of getting students more opportunities to have that school choice is to expand those transportation opportunities through, like you said, more bus depots. So I don't know how many or where they're going to be, but I think that is definitely a big initiative of Dr. Moore's, is to look at and see, if a student does want to have school choice, how can we help get them there? So, so we can ask about the bus depots. I think
that's what I was about to say, yeah. So we'll just request information about the bus depot. And then another thing that I guess in the next meeting I would like to discuss is student allocation with meeting the DSEG versus school choice. Like, how does school choice affect that? Because we know we have these demographics that's supposed to be met in order to comply. How is school choice going to affect that? Because what if I'm choosing a school that is not, like, is racially segregated, and we need to, like, for instance, you have Dodgertown. Dodgertown has like 50% African-American students. So what if black parents are choosing to take their kids to that school, but they need to comply with the DSEG? So how does that work? Like, do you poll parents and say, hey, if there was a bus for your child to go somewhere else, would you still choose Dodgertown? Or are you choosing Dodgertown because they could walk to school and it's convenient for you? Right. Like, what is your reasoning behind choosing a school? Same thing with Fellsmere Elementary. It is 93% Hispanic. That's what it's called, racially identifiable schools is what it's called. Okay, so we'll wrap up. Do anyone have any comments or questions or thoughts before we wrap up?
You can give us the statistic for Beachland Elementary. How many blacks at Beachland?
That'll be in the next meeting. Student allocation will discuss how many students are at each school.
Also, what about these chats? You gonna be able to turn this into Judge Kathleen Williams, this package like this? Or you gonna have somebody gonna interpret this and put it in language that can be understood?
That's on the district. So what about committee members? Any comments? Ms. Pender?
No,
Just check it. I don't want to leave you out there.
no.
I just want to say that, if I may, Madam Chair, that we had some good discussions today. I enjoyed the feedback and the conversation that we have. You know, I'm looking forward to the Equity Summit next week. I'm also looking forward to the Equity in Action on July 24th, right? So I'm looking forward to that as well. We definitely have our work cut out at the next meeting, so I think we definitely need to dig in and get ready for that one, because we have a lot of stuff to do, and then we still have a lot of work ahead of us, especially working on that mandated report that we have to give to the school board, and I think it's October, if I'm not mistaken. So we have to start working on that as well. So I just want to thank the group for that, and also for, you know, being unified in you know, the resolution that was read tonight around the Confederate flag, so.
Yeah, the resolution was great. It really was. It's a huge step. Born and raised here, it's like, it took forever to get here. I'm just glad that we are finally moving forward, and we do have a courageous leader to even take that step, so that's pretty cool. With the information that we need, the transportation recruitment, school enrollment, achievement gap, I would like to just charge the district to give us what they think is necessary for us to review and can really show us what is happening in the schools in those areas. Because last year, we were going around in circles, and we really don't have the time to do that this year, so.
If someone could summarize that data too and explain it, I think it would be very helpful. Okay? If we could have somebody summarize the data that we get, it would be very helpful, because you're trying to figure it out and then you're asking questions. But they can give an overview of the data, what it says, that would be helpful.
Data for dummies.
There you go.
Give it to us.
You are not dummies.
Hey, I like my dummies series. I'm like, oh, is there a dummies book on this? Yeah. Okay, so Ms. Walker?
I think it's been a great meeting also. Again, just really excited about what's moving forward in terms of equity. And I think the message is spreading across the community, throughout our schools, that it's time for us to be more inclusive. And so I'm excited about that. I think great things are ahead, yet to come.
I agree,
Thank you all for, you know, being such a great team.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of it.
My pleasure.
And I just want to commend Dr. Long with this Equity in Action. You got an all-star lineup, like Miss Rosalind she is the bomb. So, yeah, so this is going to be great. Can't wait to see you all. Will you allow recording, or will you guys be live streaming any of that? Sorry.
We will not be live streaming, but it will be recorded each session at different times to get all four, so that we can show it back on our educational channel.
That's great.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I guess we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you all for coming out today and staying with us. I know it got a little boring with the extracurricular, but we appreciate you all and your support. And stay safe and healthy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Adjourned.